And it's down to the wire. We're just days away from Election Day. The fallout over comments on the campaign trail about Puerto Rico being an island of garbage and Trump supporters being trash is continuing to hurt both campaigns. Stetson, what are we hearing today from both sides about those remarks?
It definitely is hurting both campaigns, but they've also been trying to capitalize on those comments as well. So, we definitely have been hearing from celebrities talking about those comments today in regards to President Trump. Essentially, Aubrey Plaza, the actress, said that, she was condemning those comments about Puerto Rico. We also heard from a Puerto Rican artist today, Nicky Jam, who previously endorsed Trump, now withdrawing that endorsement. So it's definitely been hurting both of them. On Harris's side, she's definitely been trying to distance herself from the comments that President Biden made about Trump supporters being trash. We also heard from a Republican congressman today who wants to introduce a resolution to formally condemn President Biden for those comments. So it's definitely hurting both sides. Some have been launching campaigns to capitalize on what the other side has said, but it's also hurting them at the same time.
And former President Trump has already alleged there is voter fraud happening in the critical battleground state of Pennsylvania, but election officials are countering those claims, saying this election is secure. Stetson, how did this start?
So the former president has been talking at rallies and on social media about the alleged voter fraud. He claimed the state was cheating and getting caught at large levels, but those claims are largely considered to be misleading and false. State officials, voting rights advocates, and many others insist the election is secure and there is no widespread evidence of fraud. There were officials in central counties in the state that did review about 2,500 voter registration forms for potential fraud last week. But outlets in the state say there aren't any signs, those aren't signs of wider fraud, those are just potential. And what many critics of Trump think is happening here is he is trying to do what he did in 2020 and sow doubt about the election results, and there's even suggestions that he may cry foul again if he loses.
Stetson Miller, thank you so much for joining us for News 4 at 5.